For the given equation, we're going to write an equation for the inverse of the function. We're also going to graph the function and its inverse on the same axis. And lastly, we're going to describe the domain and range of both the function and the inverse. So we're going to start by finding the inverse of this function. There are 3 steps. Step 1, swap or interchange x and y. Step 2, solve for y. Step 3, replace y with f inverse of x. In other words, put it in inverse notation form. So let's start with step 1, swap x and y. So in the original function, everywhere you see an x, you're going to replace that with a y. We know that f of x is the same thing as y, so you're going to remove that and replace it with x. When you do so, it's going to look like so. Next, we're going to move to step 2, which is to solve for y. So to solve for y, one easy method you can do is to simply write both sides in fraction form. So since the right side is already in fraction form, we can write the left side in fraction form by simply placing a 1 underneath. And then we can do what is called cross multiply. So that would be x times y minus 2 on one side of the equation, and then 1 times y plus 1 on the other side of the equation. And so from there, you can just do the distributive property and continue solving for x. Now, there is another method where instead you can take the denominator and multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator so that you can clear the fraction. Once you clear the fraction, you're still left with that same result we did from this method. So that might be a little bit faster. In either case, once we move from here, we're going to do distributive property x times y, x times negative 2. 1 times y and 1 times 1. Next, we want to add 2x to each side. Next, to solve for y, we have to factor out or single out the y. So let's factor out a y from these two terms. What is it that they share in common? A y. Let's take that GCF out. And now we have one last step to solve for y. Notice it's sandwiched together with x minus 1. So to get y by itself, you would have to divide by x minus 1. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And now we have it. This is the inverse because step 3 says to remove the y and replace it with f inverse of x. In other words, put it in inverse notation form.